So a little bit of news flashed up on my Twitter. It popped up. I saw the notification today in regards to Richard Hughes, and I think it's something that we've spoken about before in regards to him. Whether or not, whether he was going to stay past this summer window, is he going to go? We didn't really know. And I think obviously now the news that's obviously popped up today that you guys, of course, Liverpool fans have probably already seen is that he looks like he will be joining Al Hilal. When he joins, I don't know. I don't know if it's straight after this window. I don't know if it's going to be at a later date, for example. Obviously, I know there's a link there. When I read it, it didn't really say anything. It was just talking about his job, what he is, what he does when he came in, just kind of like background information. It didn't really go too into what exactly was kind of going on, but I think that they are under the impression, or Al Hilal anyway, are under the impression that Richard Hughes will be joining them as the new sporting director for their project over there in Saudi. So obviously I was just sitting there thinking, honestly, I was generally thinking, like, what does that actually mean for Liverpool? Like, does that change things in regards to how they do business? Does it change the way Liverpool are seen? Obviously, I've then seen a few other bits and bobs. Indy put out something earlier on. I didn't really feel like it was worth putting it up there, but he put out something, talking about how Michael Edwards looks like he's going to be in charge of the full recruitment at Liverpool moving forward. There is, I think the guy's name is, can't remember his first name. I want to say David, but I could just be being generic. Woodfine, I think it is. He's the assistant sporting director to Richard Hughes at this current moment in time. There's talks of him potentially being the guy who takes over Richard Hughes next, once Richard Hughes obviously finishes. I do believe his contract does run out next year anyway. So whether that just means this is his last window, or he's going to potentially help in the January transfer window, or do they do like a kind of like a handover like you would do at work, when someone new's coming in? I don't really know. And I think that's the kind of question here, is I guess with time we'll find out maybe a bit more information, how this is going to potentially affect Liverpool. What do Liverpool do moving forward, with the new sporting director? Is it going to be Michael Edwards? Is he going to be fully in charge of what's kind of going on in terms of the recruitment side of things? Does that then change from his actual role? Does it then mean that he's going to be basically doing what I think he wanted to do when he came back to Liverpool, which is almost just kind of be in charge essentially of Liverpool? So sorting out the contracts, giving out new ones, renewals, signing players, identifying play. Like, I don't know what that means, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend to you guys like I do. I know Liverpool have got a recruitment team, scouting team, scouting network, and all these kind of various different things. So I just want to know, because obviously what we know of Michael Edwards as to what he did previously when he was at Liverpool, when Jurgen Klopp was here, part of that recruitment team, identifying the type of players like the Salahs of this world, Mane's, etc., players who could fit what Jurgen Klopp needed. I think if we just move away from that for a second in terms of the actual personnel, names and things like that, I think moving forward, one of the things that I've said openly a few times is that at this moment in time, even last year, even after Liverpool, won the Premier League, and obviously I understood it a bit more back then because Jurgen Klopp had left, massive part of the football club. Everything behind the scenes was then changing. New manager comes in, he brings his own backroom staff. You get in, obviously Michael Edwards comes back, Richard Hughes obviously comes in. Michael Edwards has got this kind of new role at Liverpool under it. Well, I say Liverpool, it's kind of like FSG, in terms of his employers, what he's then, kind of tasked to do in terms of as a football sense. So maybe he was then stepping away necessarily from, what I say, maybe like from what he used to do prior to, leaving Liverpool the first time. Everything's obviously all changed. Then obviously Liverpool have the season, they win the Premier League. You think, oh my goodness, everything then looks on the outside as, and so it should, because ultimately you end up winning the Premier League, which is what everybody's trying to do. Everything from the outside then looks like everything is cool, everything is great. It's perfect. The way that Liverpool are doing business, it's just kind of continuing. We all know that Liverpool are were one of the kind of leaders when it came to things like data. identifying players, certain types of players, how they do their business, knowing when to walk away, not spending obscene amounts of money like a Chelsea, like a Manchester United, like a Spurs, like as we've seen, as of recently. To be honest, like anybody, Liverpool just was not that type of club. 100 million was that was like that was forbidden. He who must not be named, kind of thing. It just was not something that Liverpool kind of did. Fast forward, Liverpool signed Alexander Isak for over 100 million, Florian Wirtz over 100 million. They were looking at, Yan Diamonde potentially at over 100 million. Bradley Barcola looks like if they're going to go in for him again, that's going to be over 100 million. Now, I'll say this, and this is something that, again, me and Savage have spoken about. It wasn't so much about Liverpool not spending, well, obviously it was about Liverpool not spending money, but I think for me personally, it wasn't about, just go and sign this guy, that guy, he's 100 million, buy that, he's 100 million, buy that, he's 100 million. It wasn't really about that for me. For me, it was always about being in the conversation for certain players. So when the Jude Bellinghams, the Chouamani's, and Chouamani wasn't even 100 million at the time, but let's just say the Jude Bellinghams or, of this world, the Haalands or whatever, when these players are available and they are willing to negotiate or willing to, come to the football club, can we be in for those players? Can we get those type of players? I'm not talking about Liverpool going out there and listen, look, I like Alexander Isak, so but I'm going to be biased in regards to maybe how I view him, and I could be completely wrong, so I'll hold my hands up. When I look at the likes of the Florian Wirtz, the Yan Diamondes, are you buying the best? Are you buying those generational talents? Like you look at, someone like Jude Bellingham and you think, Liverpool probably should have just gone out there and just spent whatever it kind of needed. But then, the Caicedos, the Enzos, and I like Caicedo and I like Enzo quite a lot, but are they really the, I don't say game changers because that might not be the right word, but are they the talents that you think I must spend 100 million on? But you know what? I can kind of see where you're going with those kind of things. I'm not really, and I never have with Florian Wirtz, as you guys already know. He was never really a player I looked at. I said, yeah, you got to go and sign him. But you know what? You went and did that. Alexander Isak, you already signed Ekatike, but then you still went out and then got Alexander Isak for over 100 million. Okay, fair enough. As much as I like him, okay, fair enough kind of thing. You're then looking at Yan Diamonde. Do you then believe also? Again, if they believe it, then they believe it. There's really nothing I can say or do really to change that kind of mindset, right? And I'm a fan, so I can't change anything. But you know what I mean? It's just I was more looking at those kind of talents that if it's Mbappe, the Jude Bellingham, that level is higher than the level of players that we've signed. We know that. Jude Bellingham's of a higher level, Mbappe's of a higher level. These players are of a higher level than the ones that we are signing for those type of fees. That was always my gripe with Liverpool, is that they're available. Why don't you just go? Kvaratskhelia should have just gone, it would have been less than 100 million. That's the type of player that you go out there and sign. And that's the kind of player who literally transforms the team just by his sheer presence. And I don't really see that with the kind of players that Liverpool have signed. So I'm just wondering things. Obviously, Michael Edwards, like I said, he's taken, I guess, I don't want to say a back seat because it's not necessarily a back seat, but in terms of recruitment and everything, that's what I'm looking at is, are you taking you have taken a back seat, but are you going to be more at the forefront? Are we going to start seeing more of the Victor Munoz type of deals? And I'm not saying you only have to sign those kind of players. You can go out there and sign more established stars. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. And I think with the way the Premier League's kind of going, you probably need to do that. But I am looking at, can we be a little bit smarter with the money that we're spending? Can we really identify these type of players that you feel can really improve the squad, improve the team? I don't know. Like I said, with now Richard Hughes leaving, I didn't really see it with him. And again, he was only here for 2 years. So, by the end of, 2027, he would have only have been here, for those 2/3 years. So it's very difficult for me to then kind of really judge it. But if I had to judge it just based on his time, I'm like, yeah, we didn't really go out there and get no shrewd kind of signings. They were quite, listen, it's nothing necessarily wrong, but it's like, oh yeah, you got Florian Wirtz, you got Alexander Isak. You better pray that they work out, because if not, you're going to be known as someone who spent an obscene amount of money, over 200. If you even throw in all the other deals that we did, 400 million, plus in one window. Not really working out, is it? Liverpool had an absolute abysmal season, so much so that you had to sack the manager that you guys did a round table for, during the season. So again, it's looking a bit shaky as it is. And moving forward, I'm just more thinking about the kind of stability of the football club. Now, obviously, if Richard Hughes is going to leave, then you're going to need to get someone in anyway, regardless of that. So that will then start potentially the stability that I'm looking for, moving forward. But I just think that Liverpool going forward, I mean, to me, it almost sounds like Liverpool, and maybe you guys can tell me different. Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool look very, very, very reminiscent of that. You sack your manager, as much as we wanted him to go. Either way, you sack your manager, obviously, after talking or giving it the big one, really and truly, in terms of, we stick together, we do things differently, and, we have trust and faith and all these kind of various different things. But listen, we all wanted him to go, so I'm not going to disagree with you, on that. But you sack the manager after 2 seasons, after having a really bad season and one really good season. You're signing a lot of young players. If you check, Liverpool have signed quite a few academy players over the last couple of seasons. Chelsea signing a lot of academy players and a lot of young players in their team, and you're spending an obscene amount of money. Manchester United have been known to spend obscene amounts of money. I'm just trying to figure out what is the kind of goal moving forward for Liverpool? How are you trying to do things moving forward? Because I think that would also give fans a better indication as to what you're trying to do. Then giving it that level of patience. As we know, we don't hear from these guys, so we never know what they're thinking, which I do think that is something that I do think that they do need to improve upon and they do need to sort out. I'm not saying we need to hear from you every 2 seconds, but I think giving the fan base a bit more clarity as to what you're trying to do may actually allow for people to hold fire on their views upon you. I'm not saying you have to care about those views. I'm really, really not. But yeah, it's one of those. I feel like eventually that will start to affect, what's kind of going on. And it definitely affected your decision making in regards to Arne Slot in terms of how fans viewed him and stuff like that. I can't see how that couldn't have. I think you'd be an idiot to not even take that on board, moving forward. Not to say that it needed to be the main reason, but it was definitely a reason, moving forward. So, like I said, with Liverpool, I'm just trying to figure out what it is you're trying to do, how you're trying to do it, what's the plan, what's the idea, etc., etc. Forget about the names you're trying to sign now. Forget about the players. Yes, we know what kind of players. I guess everyone's got an idea as to what type of players they want to sign. Forget all of that, because that's obviously then down to communications with the manager and the recruitment team. I'm just more talking about just moving forward. Like, what does this even look like for Liverpool Football Club? I don't really know. But let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section. What do you guys think this means for Liverpool moving forward? Share all of your thoughts and I'll try to reply to as many people as I possibly can. Make sure you enjoy the rest of your day. Keep the same energy. Stay blessed. I'll catch you guys soon.